You're thinking to yourself, because of what this person did, because of how bad it was, they don't deserve forgiveness. You've done some messed up stuff yourself. Little things, big things, things that you probably don't even think about. Like the fact that you could be the villain in somebody else's story and you don't even know it. Today is Global Forgiveness Day. If y'all are anything like me, you have never heard of it before until right now, but I want to talk about it because forgiveness is such a common and familiar topic that I know a lot of people struggle with. Some people struggle with the concept of forgiveness, whether it's due to petty things that have happened to them or larger traumatic situations. Some people are just unsure how to do it as simple as the word to forgive or just forgive seems. The actual action of forgiving somebody is difficult for a lot of people, and I'm also in that crowd. So I want everyone to know, first and foremost, forgiveness is not absent of negative emotions. One reason I think some people don't want to forgive is whatever negative emotions are attached to the situation that has even put them in a sphere where forgiveness is even needed. The thought crosses your mind that if I forgive so-and-so or X situation, then that means that either it never happened to me, or I have to wipe the slate clean. I have to pretend it never happened, and that's a lie. That's something I have personally wrestled with. Is growing up, I struggled heavy with holding grudges against people. That was for petty things. That was for big things. I, like a lot of other people, was never taught truly how to forgive. And being a person with larger than life emotions, when negative things happen to you, you get to a certain point, especially if it's a big enough situation, you get to a certain point where it's not easy to shrug it off with a smile or a joke or anything else. And you harbor it. Sometimes you don't even try to. And for those who have, whether it's verbally or mentally, try to forgive somebody, then what ends up happening is, if you still feel so negatively, like anger, frustration, sadness, grief, whatever, towards the situation that took place, even though you said to yourself or to that person that, hey, I forgive you, what ends up happening is that because there's still so much negative emotion there, you feel like you never actually did it. And for some people, you may go to another situation where unforgiveness happens again and you don't think you have to do it because your mind, my mind told me that, okay, because I'm still so angry, even though I said I forgive, and I may even want to forgive, because I'm still so angry, I guess I'm not actually forgiving the person. So what's the point until I get over the emotion that I'm dealing with? So before I dive in deeper to that part, because I will, unforgiveness, it can create a blockage within you. It blocks you personally from growth because you're harboring onto those negative emotions. You're thinking to yourself, because of what this person did, because of how bad it was, they don't deserve forgiveness, I'm not going to forgive them. One, I do want to encourage you to remember the fact that you've done some messed up stuff yourself. Little things, big things, things that you probably don't even think about. Like the fact that you could be the villain in somebody else's story and you don't even know it because they never brought it up to you. Maybe you have not been in a place to understand and grasp what they're saying. And so in order for God to forgive us, you have to clear that out of yourself. Essentially, it's the equivalent of you having, like during COVID, let's say you have a bunch of tissue at your house. You go to the store trying to get more tissue, but they tell you no because you just came in the store earlier today. You are at your cutoff. It's a different situation, but I bring that up to say that you're holding so much. You need to let some things go to make room for something else, right? And the gatekeeper of the store, or in this situation, God, the gatekeeper is saying that in order for you to get something now, you're going to have to let something else go. And part of that reason is because it's also preventing you from growing. Because when you're holding all that in, what it does is it keeps you stuck. It keeps you stuck in the memory of what happened. It prevents you from fully moving forward. There are different types of people in the world. You have some people who can have extremely horrific things happen to them and they can move on. And by move on, what I mean is not get over the situation per se, but they can continue on everyday life, career, family, going to the gym, carnivals, whatever, and it's not going on currently in their mind, but it's residing in the back of their mind. And it may randomly come up, or it may be triggered by seeing a specific color or smell or something like that, and it brings it back to the front of their memory. You have other people who it plays constantly on a loop sometimes, and you're constantly, continually being confronted with the memory of what took place. And if you are unable to forgive that person or the situation that took place, then what it does is it helps you to stay stuck in said situation. Because there are multiple components to healing and moving past something negative that took place in your life. And forgiveness is one portion of it. Forgiveness is not necessarily for the other person as so much as it is for you. Because, again, it prevents you from personally moving forward in your life. And it creates a blockage also between you and God. And you don't want that in your life. It's not immediate. Just because, like how I mentioned earlier, there have been situations where I mentally or verbally say to myself or to another person, I forgive you or forgive X that happened, and you don't feel anything, it doesn't mean that you did not forgive them. Forgiveness actually is a process. It happens in steps and in phases, especially depending on what happened to you and how it affected you. It doesn't matter how big the situation was. It doesn't have to be Holocaust, monumental slavery level of crime to have a deep wound within your heart, within your mind. The size doesn't matter as so much as the individual impact that it had on you. Because again, somebody cut you off in traffic, even though it may not be attached to a larger situation from a memory stance, for whatever reason, it may have just really sank into you. It may have cut you really deep. And so that being said, how long ago also doesn't matter. Time is irrelevant when it comes to a memory, when it comes to how it impacts you, how you feel about it, what it does to you. Those psychosomatic symptoms where your chest gets tight, your head starts to hurt, your fingers start tingling, or whatever that looks like for you, but it causes you to manifest physical symptoms. That's what matters the most, is what type of impact did it have on you individually. That's what determines how long sometimes it can take for you to reach true, total, 100% forgiveness. And so if you said today to somebody that hurt you in whatever type of capacity, and you either don't feel it at all, or maybe you feel it a little bit. Like I mentioned earlier, there have been situations where I want to forgive and I say that I forgive, but I still feel so much whatever. In those situations, I actually did forgive. The only thing is me taking the time to be mindful and notice those other emotions that I'm still feeling sad, angry, frustrated, whatever, lets me know that, okay, there is more forgiveness to be had. There is more that I need to work on and get handled for me to reach 100% forgiveness. Even the Bible acknowledges that this is going to take some time. When Jesus told the disciples, no, don't forgive 7 times, forgive 77 times. What that says to me is you have to understand that however long it takes you to forgive someone, at least be willing, ready, and open to forgiving them. When those negative emotions rise within you, when the memory comes back to your mind, when it's pounding at your heart, beating at your eyes, when you see that person on the street, when they come over to your house, invited or uninvited, forgive them and be conscious about forgiving them so that you are not blocking yourself, so that you are not preventing yourself from growing, so that you can move forward with your life. I want to end this by making note, forgiveness can feel lofty, too lofty to reach sometimes. And for some people, it may feel like a setback, especially when your feelings relapse. I've had things that have happened to me, and the moment I get triggered by seeing that person or a song, TV show, anything that reminds me of it sets you back mentally. Your mind goes back to the event that happened. And if it's something deep like that, then anything that rises up in you can feel insurmountable. When this happens, take a step back. Wherever you're at, whether you're at home, you're with people in a public setting, it doesn't matter. If you need to excuse yourself, you ain't got to tell anybody anything. It is your business. And there are some people, a lot of people, unfortunately, that are not going to understand. The world is not as emotionally savvy as we need to be, as we are, as I'm hoping, becoming. So excuse yourself. Be mindful of how you're feeling and how you're thinking. Moving forward, I'm going to be mentioning this word a lot because it's a concept I learned of mindfulness. That's the actual term. Mindfulness is an action of you taking into account what is going on in your mind, what is going on in your body. How are you feeling? How are those thoughts making you feel? As I mentioned earlier, psychosomatic symptoms is where Thoughts trigger physical responses within your body. There can be situations that make your chest tight, your throat get tight. You feel like it's a heavy weight on your chest, on your shoulders, etc. It's different for everybody, and there are actually different situations that will trigger different type of psychosomatic symptoms. And so, as you are learning to become more conscious about practicing mindfulness, take into account what thoughts are rolling through your mind. Take into account, is your body feeling any type of way? I need you to get in tune with it so that you can learn how to healthily process through your emotions, through the trauma or negative situations that you have endured and have been put through, so that you can heal, so that you can truly learn how to forgive, so that it does not hinder you, your progress, your future, so you can learn how to thrive and not just survive anymore.